The war drums echoed from the north. In 1937, amid the morning mist along a riverbank near Beijing, a lone gunshot cracked through the air beside an ancient stone bridge, the Marco Polo Bridge. Few could have imagined that this shot would ignite a bloody conflict lasting nearly a decade, reducing millions of lives to ashes and etching deep scars of hatred between two nations. For 8 long years, from the fierce battles of Shanghai to the horrifying massacre at Nanjing and the relentless counterattacks from Chongqing, China stood defiant against an expanding Japanese empire. But this is not merely a story of two countries. It is part of the turbulent canvas of World War II, where East Asia became one of its fiercest battlegrounds. Join me as we turn back the pages of history to uncover the causes, the battles, and the consequences of the war that shaped the fate of Asia in the 20th century. The Second Sino-Japanese War did not erupt overnight. Its roots stretched back decades, into the closing years of the 19th century, when Japan transformed from a secluded island nation into a modern industrial and military power. Victorious in the First Sino-Japanese War of 1894 to 1895, Japan seized Taiwan and asserted dominance over Korea, marking the start of its imperial ambitions on the Asian mainland. In 1931, Japan's hunger for resources and strategic territory drove it to occupy Manchuria, establishing the puppet state of Manchukuo under the last Qing emperor, Puyi. This blatant aggression was condemned internationally, yet no decisive action was taken, emboldening Tokyo's militarists. Meanwhile, China, under the nationalist government of Chiang Kai-shek, struggled with internal division. Warlord rivalries, corruption, and an ongoing civil war against Mao Zedong's communists weakened its ability to resist foreign encroachment. Economic pressures also fueled the conflict. Japan's growing population and limited natural resources pushed it toward expansion into resource-rich northern China. For Japan's militarist leaders, the conquest of China was not just an opportunity, it was a necessity for survival and supremacy in Asia. By 1937, all it took was a spark at the Marco Polo Bridge to set these long-standing tensions ablaze. The spark came on the night of July 7, 1937 at the Marco Polo Bridge near Beijing. A routine Japanese night exercise ended with a missing soldier, prompting demands to search the nearby Chinese-held town of Wamping. When the Chinese garrison refused, tempers flared and shots were fired. Within days, reinforcements poured in, and the skirmish escalated into full-scale war. Japan's well-trained and well-equipped army moved with speed and precision. By late July, Beijing and Tianjin had fallen. In mid-August, the conflict shifted to Shanghai, where fierce urban combat raged for over 3 months. Chinese forces fought with determination, hoping to deal Japan a costly blow and rally international support. But Japan's superior firepower, bolstered by heavy artillery, naval gunfire from warships along the Huangpu River, and relentless airstrikes, gradually turned the tide. By late November, Chinese commanders ordered a strategic withdrawal toward Nanjing to preserve their forces. Japanese troops occupied Shanghai, setting the stage for their advance toward the Chinese capital, and for one of the darkest chapters in modern history. In early December 1937, Japanese forces advanced rapidly from Shanghai toward Nanjing, the capital of Chiang Kai-shek's nationalist government. Despite the city's defensive walls and determined troops, the Chinese leadership faced a grim reality. Their armies were battered, morale was low, and the Japanese advance showed no sign of slowing. On December 13th, Nanjing fell. What followed was not simply a military occupation, but one of the most notorious atrocities of the 20th century. For 6 harrowing weeks, Japanese soldiers unleashed mass executions, rampant sexual violence, and indiscriminate slaughter. Historians estimate that between 200,000 and 300,000 people, soldiers and civilians alike, were killed in what became known as the Rape of Nanking. The brutality shocked foreign diplomats, journalists, and missionaries who documented the horrors. Internationally, the massacre drew condemnation, but little concrete action. Western powers were preoccupied with the growing tensions in Europe, while the League of Nations issued protests without enforcement. For China, The fall of Nanjing was both a national tragedy and a rallying cry. Chiang Kai-shek moved his government inland to Chongqing, vowing to continue the fight, even if it meant a long and grinding war of attrition. By 1938, the war settled into a brutal stalemate. Japan controlled most of China's eastern seaboard and major cities, but vast rural areas remained under Chinese control, sustained by guerrilla warfare and stubborn resistance. The nationalist government, now based in Chongqing, fought a defensive war, relying on its vast territory to stretch Japanese supply lines thin. Japan, frustrated by China's refusal to surrender, launched air raids on Chongqing and other interior cities, targeting both military and civilian areas in a bid to break morale. These bombings caused heavy casualties, but failed to crush Chinese determination. Meanwhile, Mao Zedong's communist forces expanded their influence in the countryside, gaining popular support through guerrilla tactics and land reform, even as tensions simmered with the nationalists. International involvement deepened the conflict's significance. The Soviet Union supplied China with aircraft, advisors, and weapons, while Western powers offered limited aid. In 1901, everything changed. Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor brought the United States into World War II. Suddenly, the Sino-Japanese War was no longer a regional struggle. It had become one theater of a truly global conflict. American aid to China surged, but so did Japan's determination to secure a victory before the tide could turn. By 1944, Japan launched Operation Ichigo, its largest offensive in China. The goal was to secure a land route from Manchuria through central China to French Indochina, and to destroy American air bases that were launching bombing raids on the Japanese home islands. Japanese forces captured large swaths of territory, including key railway lines, but the cost was high. Their overstretched army faced growing shortages of fuel, food, and manpower. Meanwhile, the tide of war was turning. In the Pacific, American victories were cutting Japan off from vital resources. On August 6th and 9th, 1945, the United States dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Almost simultaneously, the Soviet Union invaded Japanese-occupied Manchuria, swiftly defeating the Kwantung Army. Faced with these crushing blows, Japan announced its surrender on August 15, 1945. For China, the war had been won, but at a staggering price. An estimated 15 to 20 million Chinese civilians and soldiers had died, and much of the country lay in ruins. The victory also left unresolved tensions between the nationalists and communists, setting the stage for a renewed civil war. Yet the legacy of the Second Sino-Japanese War would echo far beyond China, reshaping Asia's political map and leaving scars that still linger today. Thank you for respecting history. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and write the bell so you don't miss any battles.